All right. Hello, good people. Good afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about Egyptian advances and technologies. Now, when you think about Egyptian inventions and ways in which they advanced the world, a lot of people immediately will think about, ooh, pyramids, mummies, King Tut. And yes, 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 while those are incredible and the fact that they were able to invent those things with the limited technology that they had at the time happened, that's phenomenal. But what we're going to talk about and focus on more today are the inventions that we use currently that came from or were inspired by ancient Egypt. So, this, as you can see, our guiding question is what inventions that we use today came from ancient Egypt? Pretty self explanatory. Our objective for class today is that scholars will be able to make accurate observations and logical inferences about Egyptian technology. So, first, what I want you to do is take a look at the images that you see on the screen below and read over those list of names: calendar, medication, makeup, surgery, ink pens, paper. Though they seem quite different, they do have a single connecting thread. And so I want you to think about what one major thing they have in common. Just think about it. Any ideas? Well, if what popped into your head is that they were all invented in or inspired by ancient Egyptians, you're right. Nice job. So, yes, although they are quite different, as you can see, a calendar is very different than makeup and surgery and ink pens. They were all inspired by ancient Egyptians. Now, they looked pretty different at that time. And so, in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you some pictures and have you make some inferences about what you think those items were then and how we use them today. But still, all of those items were inspired by or invented by ancient Egyptians. And so today, as we go through, I'm going to have you, like I said, make some inferences because many of the scientific and technological contributions made by the ancient Egyptians are still in use today. While they've been perfected and improved, the basic idea behind their use remains the same as it was over 3,000 years ago, which is pretty phenomenal and speaks a little bit to the level of intelligence of ancient Egyptians. So, two things. One, remembering what an inference is. So an inference is an observation plus a connection. Second thing, when you answer your questions today, you're going to use this formula. So you're going to actually use this language of I see, I know from prior knowledge that, and thus I can infer that the Egyptians created this object to blank. And so we're going to practice that in a little bit. So here we go. On to our first invention of the day. Invention number one. Take a look at that image below, and I want you to make an inference about what it might have been used for. And again, use the sentence starter. So you're going to type this in the box to your right. I can infer that the Egyptians created this object to help them blank because blank. All right. Did you say paper? Ah, if so, congratulations. If not, no worries. It does look a bit different than current paper today. But it was called papyrus, which was the world's first paper. So we're going to read this passage together and then have you respond to two questions following this. But the Egyptians were the first people to write on paper. It was made from the papyrus plant that grew along the Nile River. The paper was light, did not take as much time for writing on as a clay tablet, and was much easier to transfer and share with others, which made communication easier. The ancient Egyptians used papyrus to make paper, baskets, sandals, mats, rope, tables, chairs, mattresses, medicine, perfume, food, clothes, and even boats. Truly, papyrus was a gift of the Nile. And so there's two things that I want you to take note of here. One, it references the clay tablets. And so if you remember, in Mesopotamia, they used the clay tablets to write their language of cuneiform on the clay tablets. And so this was a big, big adjustment and advantage of that the Egyptians had was using the world's first paper. It was much lighter and it allowed them to take a lot less time for writing on. And then the other piece I want you to see here is it says the papyrus was a gift of the Nile. And so if you remember from last week's lesson, we talked about the benefits of the Egyptians, the benefits the Egyptians had from living along the Nile River and the gifts that it gave them. And papyrus was one of those gifts. So 2 past references. All right, on to invention number 2. Here you go. Take a look and examine that image, and then I want you to make an inference about what you think these objects might have been used for. Again, use the sentence starter. I can infer that the Egyptians created these objects to help them blank because blank. Did you say medicine? If so, nice job. If not, it's okay, no worries. Remember, it looks pretty different back then, or it looks pretty different today than it did back then. So let's read a little bit, and then I'm going to have you answer a couple questions. Religion and medicine were closely related in ancient Egypt. Doctors were specially trained priests who used religious practices and their knowledge of illnesses to try to heal the sick. Probably because of their work on mummies, the ancient Egyptians knew a great deal about the body. By studying the body, they learned to perform surgery. They could set broken bones and treat many minor injuries. The Egyptians also understood the practice of creating medicines from plants. They used natural remedies to help ease everyday illnesses, such as stomach aches and headaches. Some of their medicines were quite strange. For example, they used honey and human brains to cure eye infections. They also used a whole cooked mouse to help cure coughs. Many of their medicines were accompanied by spells to ward off the evil spirits, making the person sick. Okay, so those were our 2 inventions of the day. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to complete today's exit ticket, and then you're going to go through and make sure all of your other Edpuzzle videos are complete. Many of you have finished most of them, but many of you have a few more left to complete or a few more questions in a couple of videos. So make sure you go through and all of them say that they are finished. See you tomorrow.